What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another stream for you guys. Big up to each and every one of you here early doors. Nearly 500 of you already early doors. So the We Are Tottenham army, man, coming up trumps once again. We got a lot to get into, but before we get into that, OK jersey. It's not the fifth. Well, on screen it says 15%. It's not 15% anymore.
Yeah, it's
the
not
15% code has gone. We're back down to 8%, so that's the bad news. But let's get into the good news.
We did warn them. We warned you
multiple times.
Oh yeah,
multiple.
We weren't
times.
lying. People thought we were maybe making it up. It was just trying to rush you in. We weren't lying. It was going to run out any moment, and it has now run out.
But as the Lord taketh, the Lord giveth, because the new Spurs shirts are on there now. Available to purchase, the home shirts and the away shirts. Ours are being sent out to us as we speak, so can't wait to get our hands and cop some of them. I mean, I liked it when I first saw it, but the away shirt's growing on me even more, man. I really like it.
Yeah, best. I mean, look, it looks lovely when you look at it there, doesn't it? Best replica shirts on the market. Great quality, affordable prices. The code now is Spurs, not Spurs 15, isn't it?
Yeah,
just
back
Spurs.
to the old code.
But you still get 8%, so you still get a little discount if you use our code Spurs. And the kits, the replica kits are there, and they're looking lovely. And I'm wearing one from last season. This was the what was it for? The 100
years.
100 years. There you go. Great quality.
100-year anniversary of the FA Cup 1901.
That was it. So go and get over to OK Jersey and get your replica kits to get today.
Exactly. So link is pinned to the live chat. Link is, and the code is there as well. Just Spurs, nice and easy for you guys. But let's get into some Tottenham news, yeah?
That's why they're here.
You up for it, guys? You want to get into some Tottenham news?
As you say, they're clucking for it.
Let's effing go. We're going to start off talking. There could be some changes happening at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium very, very soon, as the report says that Tottenham plan to cover the roof in solar panels. Tottenham Hotspur have contacted Haringey Council ahead of putting 3,800 solar panels on the roof of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, enough to generate 1.64 megawatts of renewable energy. The energy generated would go offset the power needed to run the stadium from lighting, matches, concerts, hospitality, and other buildings nearby.
Not even paying for electricity anymore, eh? Incredible. Saving money everywhere we go. Levy must be fuming. He's like, why didn't I think of that? Bloody solar panels, of course. Spurs are going green. Absolutely love it. Sounds great. I don't know if it's going to affect our transfer budget or anything like that, but every little helps, I guess.
It just means we make more on these kind of events as well.
Yeah.
That are happening at the stadium. Match day will make more. It just adds to the coffers, doesn't it?
Exactly. Maybe it means we can push that little bit more in the transfer market.
Yeah,
We're saving those little things, saving everything.
Are we going to be the first team in the Premier League to make a £200 million transfer? Who knows?
Maybe. When you're not even paying for your own electricity and you're using solar energy, everything's off the table at this point. Maybe we can push from Kroupi to that 90. Get that extra 10 million in there. The 10 million we're saving in electricity.
Yeah, suddenly we're going to be like, nah, Kroupi. Forget Kroupi. Let's go for Kvaratskhelia.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So that's but it's great. It's great that Spurs are trying to look out for the environment as well. I don't think that's their reasoning, but obviously it helps. So
it's a win-win.
Great
as
news.
They say.
Win-win. Great stuff from Tottenham.
In terms of transfer news, Cristian Romero, there's been an update from Fabrizio Romano on Kroupi saying there is a big chance Romero leaves Tottenham this summer. Surprise, surprise. He's a player with many clubs appreciating him after his World Cup performances, with interest from Spain and Italy. Alistair Gold. So I saw one of the aggregators quote Alistair Gold, but I actually haven't seen where Alistair Gold actually said this. Was it on his YouTube channel or was it an article or anything? But the aggregator has said that Romero has had a long-time interest from Atletico Madrid. Barcelona are also reportedly considering a move. The problem could be Tottenham's price tag for the player after starring at the World Cup with 3 years left in his contract.
I mean, I was watching his YouTube video and he pretty much did say that. So, yeah. No surprises there. Yeah, Romano just dropped this very out of nowhere video yesterday. I was seeing on his Twitter, and he was on his X, and he's just out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, there's a lot of interest in Romero, who's doing well at the World Cup. I'm guessing maybe did Romero's agent give him a bit of a nudge, like, come on, let's try and garner some interest. Let's try and get things moving. Obviously, he scored that goal in the game against Egypt, and was quite crucial in the game against Cape Verde late in the game to get Argentina into the quarterfinals, which they are now. He's now proving again to be a very vital figure in that back line. It's very interesting watching him and Lisandro Martinez try and play centre-back together. I don't think it's kind of working. You got two kind of bulldogs together, and they're both kind of doing what Romero does, but now you've got someone next to him who's doing exactly the same thing, and it's just causing chaos at the back. But what is the weird thing with those two is what you lose with, the chaos they cause, you also gain with just that quality. Like Martinez, brilliant assist for Messi's first goal against Cape Verde. He got a goal in that game as well. Romero scored a goal. So as much as they could cost you, they also could be the reason you progressed as well, and that's exactly what they're showing. But in terms of Romero, yeah, we've spoken about this so many times, haven't we? When it comes to Cristian Romero, what do we see happening with his future? We've spoken about how can we really sell him for as little as 50 million when we're signing Van Heckel with 1 year left on his deal, and Vuskovic is going for a similar amount as well. So how can Romero's got 3 years left on his deal, who's one of the leading players international level for Argentina, who's currently still, at the time of speaking, our club captain, how can he only go for as little as 50 million in this current market, considering how crazy the market is going? But on the flip side, who is actually going to stump up the money that we are looking for him? I mean, it's all very, very difficult questions. I think this Romano video that he's made is with a view of trying to garner some interest, trying to get people talking, trying to, I don't know, just get things out there so that then maybe that causes some movement. Because right now, I think the worry is there isn't as much movement as he would like. And that's kind of, I'm guessing, is happening at the moment.
Yeah, I think Barcelona would be a perfect move for him, to be honest. I think Atletico Madrid as well. I think both of them would be really good moves. But especially the way Barcelona like to play, and Hansi Flick in his high line, wants ball-playing centre-backs. I think he would love a move to Barcelona, fighting for the top honours at the top of the game.
Interesting, he said he's interested in Italy as well. He said? Yeah,
he said there is interest in Italy, but he would prefer a move to Spain. I think if it was Italy, I'd imagine it's Inter Milan.
Yeah. He would be perfect for Inter as well, the way they play. The back three, I think he would settle in really well there. They're quite adventurous in their back three as well. So they'd like to have their centre-backs move into midfield a lot and get involved in the play. Again, could they afford him? We know Inter don't usually sign players for big money. They love free transfers, don't they? They love going down that route.
Let's see how much they actually have spent into Milan.
Yeah, they don't, off the top of my head, they don't seem to spend big money usually on players. But maybe they can afford it this summer because they've been frugal. Who knows?
There's big rumours of Bastoni leaving. So if he leaves big money
to replace him, Romero,
there could be an opportunity there.
Could he go back to Juve? Obviously, he was once there, and they didn't obviously fancy him at the time, and he went on loan to Atalanta, which obviously snowballed to him coming to Tottenham. Could Juve go back in for him? But again, it comes down to if the La Liga clubs can't afford him, how can the Serie A clubs afford him? You'd think they're even less likely to be able to afford him. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he lands. Do Tottenham get the figure they're happy with? Is there going to be a compromise? Is he going to end up staying? I think that's the least likely scenario. I could see maybe a loan with an optional obligation to buy potentially happening with this one. I think Tottenham, I think, as I've said before, I think Tottenham have budgeted this window in mind with getting money for Romero. I think that's kind of been the plan. So I don't think they would want to deviate from that.
So I'm just looking at Inter Milan's transfer history. I mean, the last time that they spent over 40 million was in 2021 with Achraf Hakimi, and the last time that they spent an actual massive significant fee was for Lukaku with 70 million of Manchester United in 1920. So ever since then they haven't breached the 30 million mark.
Yeah, and when they had the Chinese owners, wasn't it? And then I think they've changed ownership now, and they've gone through a different route. They do have very smart sporting directors who do seem to find gems in the free transfer market.
They've just signed Akanji as well.
Yeah, they get very good deals. So I don't see them spending big money on Romero. I'll be shocked. Unless, as you say, Bastoni leaves and they've got a big kitty to play with and maybe they come in for him. But I don't think we get the price we want for Romero from them.
Yeah.
The most likely would be La Liga.
I agree. There's been this report on Vicario. I think it's an absolute nonsense report, to be honest. But Calcio Mercato is saying that Juventus want Vicario to replace Di Gregorio, who has now emerged as a target for Tottenham. Spurs have made an inquiry with Roberto De Zerbi, a strong admirer of the Juventus goalkeeper. The situation has opened the door for a possible swap deal between the two clubs. I ain't buying that whatsoever. There is no chance that we're getting another keeper in, surely.
Especially one who was clearly unfancied. Look, the reality is Juve don't want him. So why would we want him? They want to replace him with Vicario. So why would we get him in? To play second fiddle to Kinski? We just got Dubravka for that. So why would we want another second choice keeper? When journalists write these articles, honestly, it's like, do they not just see what's happening at Tottenham? Obviously, we've given Kinski a 5-year deal. We've signed Dubravka. Obviously, Brandon Austin's here. So unless any of that changes, like, why would we be looking at a goalkeeper right now? It makes absolutely no sense. And if we are looking at a goalkeeper, why would we be looking at one who the selling club values lower than Vicario, who we're trying to shift? So if we are going to buy one, which I don't think is the case, we're going to probably go for Verbruggen or a Trafford. I don't see us going for Di Gregorio from Juventus. So, like, I don't know what these guys are thinking when they write this. Like, I don't know where they're getting their information. Are they just making it up? Are they just trying to get some movement in the market? Maybe Di Gregorio's not getting any attention. Maybe they're trying to get other clubs out of the woodwork with putting Tottenham's name there, but it makes no sense. Why would it happen?
None at all.
Unless Kinski's leaving or whatever, that doesn't make any sense. We just gave him a contract, and we've got the number 2 with Dubravka now, so that is settled. That goalkeeping situation is finished. I don't see why anyone keeps linking us to keepers or selling keepers or whatever. I mean, Vicario's obviously leaving, we know that, but Kinski's going to be our number 1.
Yeah, for sure. So it makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. So,
but like, if you're going to make up Aruba, why not make it believable? Like, I don't understand.
Maybe to people that don't, consistently follow the news, it could be a bit believable.
Yeah, potentially.
Let's talk about Mathys Tel. There's been some reports from Turkey regarding Tel, saying Galatasaray have contacted the manager of Mathys Tel. I'm guessing he's saying the agent, who plays for Tottenham. Tel is not cold to Galatasaray.
He's not cold, so he's warm.
He's warm. He likes the idea, apparently. Galatasaray have made an official offer to Tottenham. Tottenham are demanding 30 million euros for Tel. With all these reports of wingers and stuff, could Tel potentially be a fall guy?
Yeah, he could. I don't think he goes to Galatasaray, but I think he could be a fall guy. I think as talented as I think he is, and I would love to keep him around. Similar to Bergvall, is he going to get the game time depending on who we sign? Is he... last season, I think obviously one of his biggest reservations was how little he was trusted by Thomas Frank when Frank was there. Obviously, he was more trusted by De Zerbi, more out of necessity than anything else. And I thought he did a pretty decent job in the back end of last season. I thought he had some really good performances, and I think there's a really good player in there. But if we're saying, okay, we're going to get Leao, we're going to get Savinho through the door, where does that leave Mathys Tel again, especially with no Europe next season? Is he going to be left out in the cold? It hasn't really been great for Mathys Tel ever since he's come to Tottenham with the game time and his development. I think there have been signs last season at the back end that he is improving and he's getting better, but it's not at a level where we can say he can be our starting winger. And so I do think if a good offer comes in, I'm sure Spurs will be open to it, but I think they'll probably want their money back, which was, 35 million. I don't know if they want to sell him at a loss. To be fair, I mean, looking at the situation, I guess, again, depends on... We have Odegaard, who's out injured. We have Kulusevski, who hopefully is going to be back, but we'll have to wait and see. So right now, even if we do sign Leao and Savinho, he could play second fiddle on the left-hand side right now. So there would potentially be game time for him currently. But if Kulusevski is back, then all of a sudden, if it's Savinho and Leao on the left, it's Kulusevski and Kudus on the right, then it's getting difficult.
The thing is, right, if you've got Kudus and Savinho on the right, and then you've got Rafael Leao and Mathys Tel on the left. Even if there's an injury, let's say to Rafael Leao, or he needs a rest for a game, Kudus will be the starting on the right. I still feel like he'll go for Savinho on the left over Mathys Tel.
It just depends, obviously, on form and everything. But yeah, of course, I think that could definitely an option, and I think De Zerbi would really like that duo as well. Kudus and Savinho, two real rapid wingers. But I think in this day, you got to think of it as well. In this day and age, modern football with so much intensity, injuries galore. I think it's more of a squad game than ever. Like, even if Savinho's playing second fiddle, he'll probably come on the hour mark in lots of games. He'll probably get starts as well. I'm sure there'll be games where he prefers Tel on the left to Savinho. I don't think it's going to be nailed on. I personally think he will get game time next season if he stays.
I don't think it'll be enough to fulfill his needs.
But then, yeah, someone says in the chat, also depends what we think of Mikey Moore. That also plays into it, whether, what we think, what we want to do with Tel. So I think obviously we should be open to selling him, because when we're talking about this summer, how much money we're willing to spend and how aggressive we're being in the market. I think in other summers you would probably say, look, Tel's done all right, and maybe with more development he can get more game time next season. But when we're looking to spend big money on big wingers and looking to really accelerate the quality of the squad, yeah, I think you've got to be open to selling anyone who you feel like isn't quite doing it.
Yeah, and Mathys Tel's probably top of the list, or near the top of the list from that aspect. It's not like he's been here a short time now. He's been here a year and a half, and he's been okay in moments, but he's never really blown down any trees. He's looked very busy without making too much of an impact. I think that's fair to say.
I mean, I like him. He's 21. I think for a 21-year-old, he's been decent. And so I think last season, especially near the back end, even at different points during last season. I remember that time around December time, he was scored against United, he scored against Leeds, he scored Bournemouth. Like, he was doing all right, and then for some reason he just got dropped by Frank, and he wasn't really trusted. And then he came back in with De Zerbi, and I thought he did okay in the back. Not amazing, but got that goal against Leeds. I thought there was some really good performances in there. He started to gain more confidence. So I do think there's a good player in there. I would rather not lose him. But if we're talking about selling him and then signing whoever, another player on top of Savinho and Leao potentially, then I'm open to that as well. And I think, Tel, maybe should go somewhere where they're going to make him their number one winger, or in the attack somewhere, and who's more trusted. So I think if we can get a good offer, I'm open to selling him. But I do like him. I think he's got a big future as well. It's just similar situation to Bergvall. I want to keep Bergvall as well. But if he's not happy with the game time potentially he's going to come up against next season, and he wants somewhere to guaranteed more game time and progress his career, then it makes sense. But I would rather keep Bergvall.
Though, like Bergvall, shown a lot more than Tel.
I think Tel was, yeah, he has, but still, I think Tel has shown enough for me to want to keep him.
Look, I guess he's never had a consistent run of games. That's the thing. Like, maybe if he had a consistent run of games, he would have shown a bit more. But I've never been that happy with Tel, apart from a few games here and there. That's the issue. So I do believe in his talents, and I think in the future he'll be a good player. But right now he's just not there yet, nowhere near there yet. So I'll be more than open for a sell to Tel. I'll be even more open for a loan move to Tel. Because I think if he sticks around next season and it goes the way we think, where he's going to be third choice or second choice and he's not getting too much game time, not many games, it's not going to do anyone any favours. His value is just going to drop. He's not going to get enough game time, and it's not going to do development any favour or us any favours.
But he could also surprise a few people. Who knows?
He could do, but where is that game time coming from?
It's up to him. Obviously, he has to be good enough for it. I'm not sitting here suggesting he should be given the game time if he's not doing it. But my point is, maybe he comes in and he actually, starts scoring goals more regularly. Maybe he starts showing more, because I do think there's been signs of development. So I do think if he shows those signs, maybe he'll earn himself that game time. If he's doing it, he'll get the game time. Obviously, it's up to him. If he's not being as good as Savinho or Leao or whoever, then of course he'll be out of it, and that'll be his fault.
It's a big arse, though, isn't it, to be better than these guys?
Yeah, of course. But that's the standards that will be set if we sign these players.
That's what I'm saying. The standards are set if we bring in these guys, and Mathys Tel doesn't reach those standards just yet.
Right now, but I'm saying there's been signs of development. So I'm willing to give him another opportunity if he wants to stay. I like him. I think there's a player worth investing in my opinion. But as I say, if we get a good offer, I'm happy. But I wouldn't sell him for cheap. I wouldn't take a loss on him, in my opinion.
Would you take your money back?
I think if we got our money back from him, I'll take it.
So you take 35 but not 30? I mean, I'll take either, to be honest.
I wouldn't want to take a loss on him.
All right, let's move on and let's talk about some potential incomings. I've been linked again to Saeed El Mala. Caught Offside and Bild are reporting that Tottenham continue to monitor the situation for Saeed El Mala, who has attracted interest from Brentford and other Premier League clubs. The German side are pursuing a clear transfer strategy and reportedly value their higher rate attacker at around 50 million euros. The winger is also being closely monitored by Liverpool, who are keeping him as an option after getting snubbed by Yan Diomande.
Yeah, and he's a player who's shown in the Bundesliga he can score. He's got real talent. Obviously, if we were to sell Tel and get him in, then I'm all for that. I don't mind that at all. Even though he's younger, I think obviously he's showing right now he's got a bit more output, a bit more about him than Tel. So I think, yeah, that's obviously a good option. Could we? I think he's probably an alternative to Savinho. I would say a bit of a younger one, a younger winger. I don't see us signing him and Savinho. So I guess it depends what you want. Right now, I think probably El Mala's right in more better form for Cologne than Savinho is, but Savinho's obviously had that experience in the Premier League and Saeed El Mala hasn't. There was heavy rumours, as you say, about Brentford that hasn't kind of come to pass. He wasn't playing for Germany in the World Cup, which considering you look at their wingers, they didn't really have any.
Was he in the squad?
I think he was in the squad, but he didn't play at all, did he? From what I saw, I don't know. I don't know for sure if he was in the squad, but you look at who they were playing out wide. They didn't really play with wingers, and they didn't really play natural players there. So, you would have thought there's a natural spot for him if Nagelsmann would have rated him as highly. But I don't know if he clearly didn't. But yeah, he seems like a really talented player, Saeed El Mala. So I would be open to maybe selling Tel, bringing him in potentially.
I would as well, but again, it is a risk. It's like one season in the Bundesliga you're going on. So it looks like Spurs are going for like more established players right now. So I don't know if Spurs are going to push the button on like a 50 million for Saeed El Mala. I feel like Spurs are just going for those more established players.
I think you can go for established players while also going for younger players that you rate. I don't think it has to be only established players. I think obviously we've overdone it with those players that we're talking about, those young promising players. Of course, I understand that. So right now we're trying to course correct, but I don't think that means I would completely rule out any younger player now. I think obviously he has to come in alongside a more we want him to come, I should say, come in alongside a more established winger. But I wouldn't say, okay, he's not established in the Premier League, so that means he's off the table. I think that would be a silly way to run your transfers.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I've never seen too much of him. I've just heard a lot about him and seen the stats behind his season last year. I'm not sure if he can play both wings, but that's what draws me a lot to Savinho, because he can play equally good on the left, on the right, and I think we need someone like that. So
yeah, I think El Mala is more of like a 10-y kind of winger.
So I don't think that's what we need right now. I think we need more of a Savinho that can play out and out on both wings.
Yeah, I 100% agree, which is why I'm in favour of getting Savinho for sure.
Another player that we're linked with is Francisco, or I think that's his first name, Trincao of Sporting Lisbon. Really interesting, yeah. He has smashed it last season. Team Talk are reporting that Tottenham have joined the race to sign explosive Sporting attacker Francisco Trincao on the back of a really big season. I mean, he was in the Wolves squad a few years ago and didn't do that great in the Premier League. However, Vitinha was in the Wolves squad and didn't do that great. And then he's like one of the best midfielders in the Premier League now.
He's 26 now.
Yeah, he's 26,
he's not young.
yeah.
Vitinha is a bit different. And also, didn't get much game time at the World Cup. He wasn't really trusted in that position. I
don't trust Martinez, mate.
Fair enough. But Trincao, he's obviously a talented player, but I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League, personally. from what I've seen from him. He just seems a bit too slow. I think he's good enough for the Portuguese league, and he's clearly very good technically, and he's got a lot of talent. And when I see him in the Champions League, he does all right, to be fair. But I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League to be a player in our squad, in my opinion.
I mean, he was on Barcelona's books for a little bit as well,
Yeah, he
wasn't
was,
he?
yeah.
Before he moved to Wolves. But his numbers seem, I mean, his assist numbers, he's got like 25 assists in the last 2 seasons. Mad, monstrous numbers, isn't it?
It's good for the Portuguese league, for sure.
Yeah.
I've got no, we've seen with Gyökeres, I know he hasn't been like a massive flop, but you've seen it's hard to translate those numbers from Portuguese league to the English league, goals wise. Gyökeres was a monster.
That has smashed it out in the Portuguese league in terms of numbers.
Yeah,
and
Bruno
translated that into the Premier League. Got Bruno
Fernandes. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. I'm trying to think. In terms of numbers, if we're talking about attackers, yeah, I can't think off the top of my head who's really been able to replicate it.
There's not many.
Yeah, not many.
Because like Darwin Núñez absolutely smashed it in the Portuguese league, came here, and it looked like he couldn't finish. So
someone says Cristiano, but no, it's a bit different. He was 18 when he was there.
Yeah.
So it's very, very different. Look, Trincão's a talented player. I actually don't think I don't think he would be like a bad Premier League player. I just don't think he'd be good enough for Tottenham. I think he'd come in and be like a mid-table player. Like, I don't think he's one what we should be spending big money on. He's just a bit too slow.
People saying Helder Postiga.
Yeah. Brilliant. What a signing he was.
We got a couple more actually. No, last but not least is Will Lankshear. There's been some reports from Preston saying that, some Preston publications saying that Preston has submitted a loan move for Will Lankshear. Several other clubs are interested. Spurs may keep him for pre-season before deciding on his future. Paul Heckingbottom is pushing hard with Preston offering a full wage coverage. Preston splashing that cash at the moment. 6 million for Alfie Devine, full wage coverage for Will Lankshear.
Not bad. Yeah, we've spoken about Lankshear quite a bit. I think hopefully we've seen obviously the videos in pre-season with some excellent finishing off the back of what was a really good loan spell at Oxford. I think in general a loan spell would be good for him again. A better championship team who's not challenging for relegation, and where he's got his mate Alfie. I'm sure they're friends. Alfie Devine out Preston now, and
obviously even played with each other that much.
I'm sure they know each other. And we've got we've got a good relationship with Preston now, with Peter Ridsdale, and saying all those nice things. So I think sending him to Preston's not a bad idea. But yeah, I'd really be intrigued to see what De Zerbi thinks of him first, though, and if he could have any sort of value, because when you've got a player that young scoring a decent amount of goals at the level of the Championship, off the back of how many goals he was scoring, if you remember, under 21 level, he was absolutely smashing that out.
Scorer, yeah.
He was like 30, 40, he was banging them in for fun. And then now he's gone to the Championship and he's banging in goals there. Hasn't even didn't even go to a League 2 or League 1 team. He skipped straight to the Championship and he's already scoring goals. So that is the sign of a player that potentially could be a very good goal scorer down the line. So I would definitely take a look in pre-season, see could he fill in a role? Could he? Do you think he could add value to our attack right now, or is it worth just aiding his development even more, getting him another Championship or even maybe a lower Premier League loan to aid that development and get him the more and more game time? So I think we have to make that decision. But I think, Preston, I'm not surprised they're maybe jumping at the chance, because I think they saw the goals he scored last season. They could probably do them up front.
Preston could be a big player in the Championship next season with this money that they've got, new owners splashing the cash. You never know. Preston could be up there in like playoff spaces or something like that. You know how tight the Championship can be. So,
where did they finish last season?
I can't remember where they finished last season. I'll tell you in a sec. But look, I wouldn't be against Preston. I'd prefer him, if we're going to loan him out, I'd prefer him to go to a Championship, a Premier League team, like a Hull or a Coventry. Let's see how he fares in the Premier League. That would be obviously my number one.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't see why not. Like a club like that don't pick him up. Like, why not? Preston finished 14th.
Okay.
So, and the playoffs go down to 8th this season, and they were 9 points off 8th. So with some extra players in there and some more quality, there's no reason why they can't finish in the championship, in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but they can do it.
Of course, it'll be difficult. But let us know your thoughts. Do you want Will Lankshear to stick around, or do you want him to go out on loan next season? I see the values in both. I think he's got the quality to potentially be our third choice striker, but then again, that might stunt his development with the lack of game time. So I think for him alone, probably a loan move would be the best to like a Premier League side. Maybe a West Ham, to West Ham.
I would take that. Someone says keep him around till January, maybe, and then send him on loan.
If you keep him around till January, we go into the Cups early this year, the League Cup second round, he can get that game time in those kind of games, and potentially some sub appearances in the Premier League. So yeah, I wouldn't be against that. Yeah,
I hope he gets a pre-season. I'd hope he gets some opportunity to impress in the pre-season games as well.
He will.
So, I remember, what was it, in Ange's second season, he played some pre-season games and got some goals. If I remember, like Hearts, he scored. I think maybe scored one more as well.
Scored against Galatasaray.
Scored against Galatasaray. I know, but I'm talking about in pre-season.
Oh.
He scored impressed in that pre-season, didn't he? And then obviously was kept around, scored against Galatasaray, had some decent games. So there is a good player in there, I think, but it's just what level he truly is at. It's hard to say.
Yeah. I think the thing is about Will Lankshear, like his finishing ability is undeniable. But on top of that, he's got that physical presence. At 21 years of age, to have a frame like that and to compete, at the likes of Galatasaray away and whoever he's been playing for Tottenham and in the Championship, I think it's so unique. And I think he is a player that could go really far in the game. I really believe that. So let us know your thoughts on all the news stories that we have brought you today. That is your Tottenham update. We are going to move on and we're going to talk about Eli Kroupi, or Eli Kroupi.
Eli.
Junior Kroupi, whatever you want to call him. There was an article last night on Sport, and his agent has been piping up, talking about where he could potentially end up. And it was a strange article for me. It was a very strange article. But let's go through it and we'll see what we think. So it says Eli Junior Kroupi has established himself as one of the most attractive names in the transfer market. A great season signed by the French striker has multiplied the interest of several great European clubs and has placed him at the centre of numerous speculations in recent weeks. Among the teams that have been linked to the attacker, Barcelona appears. Given the complexity of the operation by Julian Alvarez, the main objective of the sports management to reinforce the forward, different reports pointed at Kroupi was among the footballers monitored by Barcelona for the present and the future. At the same time, rumours about a possible landing at Tottenham also intensified. Obviously, this is, by the way, in Spanish, so it's been translated. So if it's a bit strange, that's why. Several media claim that the London team, with Roberto De Zerbi at the head of the project, has taken the position to get the services of the young striker. However, the player's environment has wanted to put a break on all this information. Moussa Sissoko, who is the representative of Kroupi, and by the way, it's not the Moussa Sissoko, it is top agent Moussa Sissoko. And by the way, I have heard that Sissoko and Barcelona's relationship is a bit frosty because he had Ousmane Dembele there, and there's a bit of apparently some sort of bad things that have happened between Barcelona and Moussa Sissoko. Anyway, Moussa Sissoko, representative of Kroupi, gave an interview to 365 Scores in which he clarified the situation of the footballer and denied several rumours that have circulated in recent days. The agent response to the alleged Barca interest was forceful. Sissoko denied there had been any type of negotiation between the footballer and Barcelona and assured that it is not correct to link his name with the Catalonian club at this time. The representative also explained that there's been no contact nor any conversation between the two parties. Statements call for now the possibility of Kroupi's part in Hansi Flick's immediate plans. The position of a 9, although the door is not closed, as we have told in Sport. So, because you brought this translation yesterday, and this translator has done it like a bit of a different terminology and wording. So it's a bit strange and a bit hard to take exact what they mean by it. But it goes on to say Barca was not the only club mentioned during the interview. In recent days, various reports from England had indicated the attacker was close to becoming a new player of Tottenham. However, Sissoko also took care of denying that scenario. The agent assured that there is no agreement with Tottenham, and the versions that speak about a practically completed operation do not reflect the real situation of the player. Despite denying the contacts with Barcelona and Tottenham, the representative made it clear that Kroupi's future remains unresolved. The striker continues to analyse the different options that he has on the table and has not made a definitive decision on what the next destination will be. This one is in quotation marks. It says, "We continue to debate its future. We will see what happens in the coming days. At the moment, there is no final decision." So the message they transmit from the footballers' environment is one of calm, with much of the market still ahead, several clubs attentive to their situation. The priority is to carefully evaluate each alternative before taking the next step in his career to continue full progression. So that is the article in its entirety. It's strange because there's only one quote in there, and that's the quote I just spoke about. There is no other quote. It's all just kind of this article making, I don't even know what. Like, why is there no more quotes in this article?
Yeah, it seems as though the agent is speaking to this outlet, this journalist, but for some reason he's only directly quoted him with one quote, but with the other, whatever he said to him before, he hasn't directly quoted him. He's just said what he said, which is a bit strange. But you can kind of infer this is him talking to the journalist. Before,
but also we don't know what was asked. Quoted. We don't know what was actually said. You know, it's all very strange.
I think he was asked about any links to Barca, and he was asked if there's an agreement with Spurs. I think that's what he was asked. So he was asked pretty directly on those two things. I do find the language kind of interesting, because he was saying when asked about any rumours about Barcelona being interested, he was very forthright. He said, and he said. He denied any negotiation. There's been no contact and no conversation between any party. And he said it is. He also said it's not appropriate to link Kroupi.
See, it
with
says that
Barca.
in yours, but that doesn't say that in mine. So
well, this is Google Translate, yeah.
Mine's Safari Translate. So I mean, like, it depends.
Well, what does it say? Well, what's the difference?
Mine didn't say those words. What did you say just now?
Well, no, denied any negotiation, no contact has been made, no conversation with the parties.
No, after that.
And he said and asserted that it's inappropriate to link his name to the Catalan club.
It doesn't say that here. Inappropriate. Which line of the article?
You
is
go
that?
down. Your one says. So 1 minute. Denied with Barca. Yours says that it's not correct to link his name with the Catalan club. My one says it's not appropriate. It's inappropriate. To link his name to the Catalan club,
I guess.
But anyway, my point being is he's shutting it down completely. He's saying there's not even been any conversation. It's inappropriate to even talk about Kroupi and Barca. But when asked about Spurs, he's asked, there's rumours of an agreement. There has been rumours flying around, social media. There's been these TikToks going around about agreements. So these rumours have been flying around, these little things. He's asked about the agreement. And he says that isn't the reality of the situation. The agent says there's no agreement that has been finalised with the London club, and the reports of a deal being completed do not reflect the player's actual situation. So that's what he's saying. But what's interesting is when he's asked about Barca, he completely shuts down there's been any conversation. But he doesn't quite do the same with Tottenham. He doesn't confirm anything, but he could have, if there wasn't any conversations with Tottenham, like with Barca, he could have said, when asked, is there an agreement? He could have said, there's not even any conversation. We're not even talking to them. But he doesn't say that, which I find a bit interesting. Obviously, he is denying any agreement, which is fine, and I understand that. But what was also interesting in the final quote, if you look at some of the language he uses, we'll see what happens in the coming days. At the moment, there's no final decision. What does that imply? There's a decision to make. Mm-hmm. That implies that there's offers on the table, and we have to decide what we're going to do with them. And are we going to move to this club? Are we going to stay at Bournemouth? But if there was no one in for him, there wouldn't be any decision to make. He'd be staying at Bournemouth.
But I mean, in terms of Barcelona, this is like the kind of first we're hearing of it, isn't it? Like this report. And he's saying like there have been no talks with Barcelona. Well, I wasn't aware of any talks with Barcelona before anyway. So like the names that have been dropped before have been Arsenal, PSG, Tottenham. So there's been no mention of PSG. There's been no questions asked about Arsenal, no questions asked about PSG. What's the situation with those clubs? Have those clubs made contact? If he was asked about PSG and Arsenal, would he have said the same?
Who knows?
About, the questions about Tottenham. So I don't know. I don't know if there's much in this article, because we know, like from SZY, that they've been speaking to KROUPI'S representatives, don't we? So I don't. Really know
that's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been pretty spot on so far this transfer window, so no reason not to believe him.
Yeah, but you can't just take it as fact.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying like there's real new information here.
Well, it's coming from the agent, so it's a bit more. You can't, obviously when these kind of people are talking to agents and stuff, or talking to journalists. Sorry, I should say. Obviously, they're not going to come out and confirm many things. Right now, they're in a stage where clearly he's saying they're talking to clubs. Well, he's not saying it, but he's implying. But what he says is no final decision. We're going to decide in the next coming days, right? He's not saying anything there, but what you got to listen to what he's not saying, and but what he's not saying is kind of implying there is something to be decided.
Yeah, of course there is.
So you've got to read in between the lines. And what I'm trying to see here is when he talks about Barca. My only point is he's being very forthright. He's being very aggressive about there's just no contact. But it's not quite the same tone with Tottenham.
Because there has been contact with Tottenham.
Right.
There probably hasn't
and that's
been
what we're learning.
But there's probably been contact with other clubs as well.
There might have been. That's fine. But I'm just saying that's quite interesting, because we're hearing little bits from SZY, and to hear the agent speak, and you have to kind of piece things together. That's what we learn. Obviously, all we're learning really that we think there are probably been conversations with Tottenham and Kroupi, which is not majorly new. We do know that, but when you're reading between the lines from the agent, I just think that's a bit interesting. But yeah, it doesn't confirm he's come to Tottenham, doesn't confirm anything. Of course, this is the agent trying to play the game. He's trying to get the bet. What's quite interesting, I find as well from this, is SZY said that we obviously had held positive talks, but he thinks he's going to shop if we agree a deal or put a deal in, he thinks he's going to shop that deal around to other clubs and see where the land lies, to PSG and Arsenal, whatever. So, that last quote he says implies that's maybe what they're doing at the moment. He's just we don't have any final agreements. Maybe he's going to see who else is actually interested, who's willing to put the money down, who Kroupi really, really wants, and then they'll make a final decision. So I think from all these quotes, it very much kind of backs up maybe what SZY has been saying.
And on the back of that report, Bournemouth have made in front and centre of their new kit launch today. Can we bring that up actually on X? On the tweets, the last two pictures. Literally, first thing in the morning, I open my X account and this is what I see. Pure shithousery from Bournemouth, man. This is the first, literally no context whatever, just a cherry. If you go to the other one,
Alex Scott as well.
Yeah, teasing their new kit, and then literally an hour later, they put Alex Scott and Junior Kroupi, the two players that have been heavily linked with moves away, as the front and centre of their new kit launch. And by the way, what a horrible kit that is. That is disastrous.
What's wrong with it?
I think it's awful. That Vitality logo.
Oh, yeah, the logo's not nice.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I think it's just them trying to send a bit of a message, trying to kind of put a bit, trying to send a message. If you're going to get them, we're not looking to sell. They're our players. We're going to use them and to promote our new kits because we expect them to be here next season. That's kind of the message they're sending out. We've seen it a number of times though, enough times now that just because they're on a kit launch doesn't mean too much. We've seen players leave before or after being in kit launches
many times.
It does obviously. It's part of the negotiation, isn't it? All these things.
Yeah.
So.
Look, Brighton tweeted a picture of Van Hecke a few days before we signed him.
There you go.
And Harry Kane was front and centre of our kit launch the summer that we sold him.
Yeah.
So Bale as well.
Times Square.
So I wouldn't read too much into him being front and centre of the kit launch. That's for sure.
Yeah. Exactly. Obviously, if he's left out of a kit launch, you can also say something. But I think being left in it, it's just, I don't think you can read into whether they're trying to say something with it. I do think it's probably no coincidence those two players have been heavily linked with moves, and they're the ones front and centre of it. I think Bournemouth are known to try and extract the best value, and that's exactly what they're going to try and do. They're trying to send a message out they're not for sale. If you're gonna sign them, you're gonna have to pay the fees that we want.
Exactly. So let us know. Do you take anything from that report? With one little quote from the agent, Moussa Sissoko. Is he going to come to Tottenham? Do you think this move's going to get done?
I think. Do I think this move's get done? I've got a feeling it will, but it's impossible to say. But I think if we put 100 million down, I think it gets done.
Yeah. I wouldn't bet against it.
I don't think anyone matches it. I think he would accept it. I think Bournemouth would accept it. Less than 100 million, I think. I'm not 100%. I'm not sure. If we are willing to put big money down, I think it gets done.
Just trying to see what the transfer.
I don't think he goes to Arsenal or PSG this summer.
So Spurs are favourites at evens. Some sites even offering less than evens.
I don't think he goes to Arsenal or PSG.
PSG are at like 7-1. Arsenal are at 16-1, 8-1 some places, and to stay at Bournemouth is 2-1. So Tottenham the favourites right now. I
think those are the two choices. I don't think he goes to Arsenal or PSG. I think it's either he stays at Bournemouth or he comes to Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. But that is the word on the street about Eli Kroupi right now. But the Spurs boys are back in pre-season, or some of them are anyway. And we saw some of them walk through the doors at Hotspur Way this morning, really. You got Richarlison, Ben Davies, Solanke, Conor Gallagher, Archie Gray, Destiny Udogie, Matheus Fernandes for the first time, Brandon Austin, Vicario, Manuel Solomon, Dane Scarlett, and Kota Takai back for pre-season. No sign of Sandro Tonali, which was a strange one. I wonder where he's gone.
Well, hasn't even his country weren't even at the World Cup, so no real reason for him not to be, unless he's just not been pictured for whatever reason. But you would have thought they would definitely picture him. It's Tonali, he's our record signing, of course they would. So maybe he's still on holiday. I don't know. It's hard to. But why would he not report back on when everyone else is? Very strange. Who knows? I'm sure there's a reason. I doubt it's anything to really be worried about. But yeah, I do wonder why.
Yeah, look at Matheus, man.
There you go.
He is looking suave as F, man. I cannot wait to see him in a Spurs shirt, man. Running that central midfield for us alongside Sandro Tonali, man.
100%. He is going to be balling. I can't wait to see. I want to see when are those training videos going to come out with the rondos
next week.
Yeah, I want to start seeing them. I'm getting itchy fingers for them because I want to see them just balling out in the training and just showing what a level up they're going to be. It's going to be exciting. Vicario, obviously a lot of these players still probably going to be out the door. Vicario, Richarlison, probably Dane, Manuel Solomon there, Kota Takai. I mean, how many players are we actually who are back are we expected to stay?
Well, out of these players that are back, I say that Austin, Fernandes, Udogie, Gray, Gallagher, Solanke, Davis, they're the only ones that'll be here next season. So you got Kota Takai probably go out on loan. You got Scarlett who'll probably be sold. Solomon that's probably going to be sold. Vicario that's probably going to be sold, and Richarlison. So yeah, like half basically.
So and obviously there was a few players obviously who went to the World Cup who we're waiting to see back in the squad. But yeah, it's good to get the ball rolling. When players start coming back for pre-season, you start to really. You can look forward to the new season, and it starts to feel like it's really getting underway. And I'm really excited. I think all Tottenham fans right now are looking at next season with a bigger sense of excitement than we've had in a long, long time. And now they're back for pre-season, getting to work under Roberto De Zerbi. I think it's gonna be a hard pre-season for them, but I think it's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So Where is Sandro Tonali? Apparently, people in the comments saying it's a
Work permit
work
thing.
permit issue.
Makes sense. It does say he was signed subject to a work permit. So, yeah, maybe it just hasn't come through yet. I don't see that being a problem, surely.
Nah, not at all. It won't be a problem. But
Just a timing thing.
it's interesting that Fernandez got his work permit quickly and Tonali didn't. Like, surely...
Yeah.
Well, I guess Fernandez joined earlier, didn't he?
A couple of days
So,
earlier, wasn't it?
That's why Tonali's got
Well,
it,
I guess
but-
actually officially, no, it was about a few weeks up.
Yeah,
week.
it was like a... Well, the Here We Go's happened 24 hours in
I'm talking about the
between.
official announcements.
So the official announcement, yeah, was like a week apart or something.
Mm.
Well, Tonali, they delayed the announcement.
Tonali, they delayed yes, because he had his medical and all that kind of stuff a few days before. Yeah, we obviously await any videos or all the content that comes out from the players returning in pre-season. We just have pictures at the moment. I'm sure that probably Spurs will release a video at some point of all any sort of, I know, probably gym work at this point, coming back from pre-season and put the players putting in the hard running. Looking forward to some shooting drills. No sign of Lankshear and more. I know they're doing their individual training. We've seen various clips of that. But I would have thought they would come back with the first team here, but no.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Unless, again, they just haven't been pictured.
Did they play internationals over the summer for the youth?
Not
They
that I
might
can
have
remember.
done.
They might have done. Not that I can remember.
But the Spurs, on the Spurs website, they're doing like a running blog for the for pre-season. They said, "Welcome back again, and again, Ben." Ben Davis returns the Hotspur way for the first day of pre-season. Longest serving player, man. 2000. I can't believe this guy joined us in 2014.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
2014. It's mental. And now he's just signed another deal. It's big up to Ben Davis. But who are you most looking forward to seeing in pre-season?
Yeah, I think Fernandez.
Over Tonali.
Yeah, because I think Tonali is like... The reason why I think Tonali is like, I know what we're getting, I feel, with Fernandez. With Tonali, I think Fernandez, obviously, he's had 2 great seasons in the Prem, but in terms of that excitement factor, that guy who can do some stuff on the ball that a lot of our players can't, I think I'm more excited to see that, to be honest.
It's interesting, yeah. People are mentioning Kulusevski, yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't
haven't
return
seen
back
him
today.
Haven't seen him yet, which is
There's still
a
quite
shame.
a few of the non-internationals that weren't there. So who actually wasn't there that hasn't been on internationals?
Kinski?
Kinski wasn't there.
Oh, was
yeah.
he in the squad for the Czechs?
No. He pulled out because of...
Injury. Oh, right. So he's probably nursing this injury, isn't he?
So Kevin Dancer was at the World Cup. Chavi's
Xavi
obviously at ACL.
Tel.
Madison
Yeah. Tel.
wasn't there. Bergvall international. Romero's at the World Cup.
Slanky was there.
Kudus,
Yeah, Kudus. He's obviously injured still.
Kulusevski. Saar was at the World Cup. Bentancur was at the World Cup. And then you got players like
Phillips.
Ashley Phillips, Souza.
Yang.
Yeah, Yang Min Hyuk's just been called up to the Asian Games or
That's
something
right.
like that.
That's
I don't know
right.
when that is. I think that might be September.
Apparently,
time.
yeah, people are saying that with that happening, could impact any loan deals for him because it goes into September, October, apparently.
Yeah, that's not great, is it?
No.
That's not great. Like, is it better for him to play at the Asian Games, like for him, or is it?
Well,
better
he's going
like-
to regardless. Doesn't matter, does it? But obviously, your loan deal's good, better for Tottenham. But and also, it's very. What is going on with Vuskovic?
What do you mean?
We got the Here We Go weeks ago.
Mm.
Why is
No
that?
official statement.
Why is that not being confirmed yet?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know he's been at the World Cups. Maybe they're waiting for that. But you know, we've
left the
Van
World
Heck.
Cup ages ago.
I know,
now.
and Van Heck signed during the World Cup. That was official. It doesn't stop. Robertson was signed when he was away, so it shouldn't really stop anything. If it's done, like why? What's the hold up? It's very
Yeah,
strange.
it's a
It's
good
gone very
point.
quiet.
Good point. Never really thought about it. Surely it just gets announced out of the blue sometime soon. you
Yeah,
would think.
just strange. I mean, how long ago was that? Here We Go.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, was it?
Like Dragoshin, we got the Here We Go. It was announced like 10 minutes later.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all very odd what is going on with Luka Vuskovic. Look, the reality is he's not going to be a Tottenham player. The deal's done. It's just I don't know what the hold-up is. Why is he not been announced? Until it's official, it could always fall through. You never know. We've bungled here we goes before.
Yeah, unless, he's on holiday and they want to do this whole big present, because he is their record signing.
Fair.
They might want to do some big presentation for him.
Yeah.
Or some big social media thing, like with him at the MX or whatever. So there might be that.
So you got
It's the only thing I can think of.
Fair.
But yeah, that is the first sighting of the players back for pre-season. Spurs are nearly back. It's just like the medical testings today, and then Monday I think pre-season really begins. So very much looking forward to seeing all. I thought we might have seen. I guess De Zerbi's probably not in the building yet, is he? De Zerbi probably comes back.
Yeah,
on Monday
I did see De Zerbi.
This is probably just medical testing. De Zerbi doesn't really need to be there for. But back on the grass.
Yeah, you would have thought he'd just be there anyway. But anyway,
back on the grass Monday. And that's when the real pre-season kicks off. Let's move on and let's react to some more comments, guys. I know you love it, so let's get into it.
So you've been commenting a lot on the squad builders, the reacting to the Villa and Newcastle fans, all that kind of stuff. So Deadly Dizzle, big up to you. His comment was, Sim, using the example of Rodgers and Palmer leaving City because they could afford to lose them isn't a flex. It could also represent a missed opportunity from right under your nose. Rodgers has turned into an unbelievable player. The league winner's prime target for over 100 million after City let him go for peanuts. I'm sure they'd love him back. And their success in the meantime wasn't determined by his sale. Maybe he wouldn't have reached the same heights having to wait for his chance, but it didn't hurt the likes of Foden or O'Reilly. I'm not actually saying to hold on to Gray and Bergwijn necessarily, but there's a strong possibility we'll look back on them as missed opportunities. The only tonic would be if the new recruits deliver league titles, which is a long shot if we're honest.
I don't think you're saying it's a flex. It's definitely not a flex.
I'm not sitting here saying that they wouldn't like Rodgers back potentially, or even a Palmer or whatever, or they're not good players and maybe they look back on their sales badly. My point being is they haven't missed them in the meantime. They've sold those players and they're not thinking about missing them. They're not thinking about, I wish we had them, because they've gone on and won trophy after trophy, league titles. They're not sitting here thinking, why didn't we keep Palmer? Why didn't we keep Rodgers? They're sitting here thinking, we need a certain amount of wins to win a title because we're in a title race. That's their thought process, and they're not crying over spilled milk or how these players turned out, because they've got world-class players in those positions, or they had anyway at the time. So they're not worried about that. That's my point. I understand they let them go and they've turned out to be great players, and maybe in hindsight, could they have got more money? Could they have kept them? Those are different questions. My point being is, same with Bergwijn and Gray. We might sell them and look back and thinking, I wish we kept them. But we also might be so preoccupied with how well our team is doing. We're not going to be worried about how well those players turn out to be.
I guess the whole point is that when you're trying to be a big or a top club, no matter what kind of what you think the future holds for these players, if they're getting itchy feet and they think they should be getting game time right now, but they're just not there yet, and you feel like you've got better players, they're not going to be getting the game time, and these guys are pushing to leave because they think they should be getting the game time, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you've got better players there at that moment in time. Your transfer strategy is to keep bringing in good players. So you take the money and you move on. That's what you got to do.
That's it. So if they turn out to be unbelievable players, which they might well do, and there's a good chance they do, then fair play to them. And we'll look about their career and say, mate, look, there's a chance we could have kept them. But if we're doing what we're doing with Tonali and Fernandes, we're not going to be thinking about how good a player Bergwijn or Gray turns out to be. Even if they turn out to be better than them in a few years' time, right now, Fernandes and Tonali, if they're the players that we've chosen, and as long as they're doing their job and they turn out to be as good as we hope they will, we're not going to be thinking about what Bergwijn or Gray turn out to be if we do end up selling them. As I said, I'd like to keep them. Yeah. I wouldn't want to sell them, but if we can get good money and they want to leave, then it is what it is.
Exactly.
Anvil 926 who says, I actually think Solanke will have a season similar to why we signed him with Bournemouth. If he's our main striker, I think we will see 20 to 22 goals this season. Our manager will get him back to his best. Had an awful first season, but the second season doesn't count for me. Entire team was poor and he was injured for the majority of it.
Yeah, well, the proof will be in the pudding. I mean, I hope so. I really hope so. I think he just needs to keep fit, and we need to find the best uses for him. I think that Solanke, in terms of profile, is someone that De Zerbi will enjoy playing. You know, he can cause chaos in the box. He can finish. He can get a high volume of goals that he showed in that season at Bournemouth. But at this moment in time, in terms of in the top flight, that's the only season he's got to look back on to say he's had a real top season. So he needs to prove himself. That's the reality. You know, at Spurs, he's been a bit underwhelming, or say he's been underwhelming. So he's got to prove it to the fans. He's got to prove it to De Zerbi, and I think he's got 1 year to do it.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. You can't have 3 bad seasons, and that's it. I think. Look, I'm open to selling Solanke this season if we get a good offer. Again, I wouldn't sell him for cheap. I think there is a good player there. I think when he has played for Tottenham, I think he has shown his quality. But the reality is, similar to Rishi, we don't get him on the pitch enough. He's had lots of issues for whatever reason with injuries at Tottenham, whereas before it just hasn't really been an issue for him. So I don't know what's happened to Tottenham, why he's getting all these injuries all of a sudden, but it is the truth. He has been injured a lot. I think his goal scoring record overall, when you look at minutes to goals and stuff like that, it's not terrible. It's actually not horrific. So I do think if we can keep him fit for a whole season, you can get a good number of goals out of him, and I think we've seen in the Premier League he can do that. I don't think even at his best he's one of the best. He's the best striker in the league. He's an elite striker. He's just not that level. I think he's a good player. He can get you, 15 goals, maybe 20 goals at the very upper limit. But he's not a player who's ever going to be in the world class category, in my opinion. So we just got to live with that. But I do think there's a good player there.
Absolutely. What's the next one?
Gilfie says, I really don't want to sell Sarr and Bergvall. Don't get me wrong, Tonali definitely starts ahead of them, and Fernandes probably does too. But those two players have a potentially great future ahead of them, and that future could be at Spurs. Sarr has had his dips in form, but when he's been playing well, he's done some really important things for us, and Bergvall is a star in the making. We have them at the club. It is not easier to keep them rather than... we have them at the club. It is not easier to keep them rather than in a few years spend more than we sell them for on a player that's as good as they could become at that point in the future.
That's the whole point. He's talking about the future again. We're supposed to be building a team for now. You know what I mean? Like, I agree with him. I think Sarr can be a good player in the future. I think Bergvall can be a very good player in the future, but we can't keep holding on to these players in hope that they're going to be good players in the future when we're trying to build a team for now. If the players are willing to stay and willing to have a lack of game time in that period, then fine. I'm happy to keep Bergvall, albeit I think Sarr probably should go regardless. But they're not happy for those roles. Bergvall's not happy for a role like that. So you can't keep someone like that, especially it's going to stagnate their career. It's not going to do them any good. So you may as well take the money.
Yeah. I don't like the fact that we have to sell them, but here's the reality. We're not in Europe next season. There's going to be limited minutes to go around. These players right now have underperformed last season, and as well as good players they could be, when we're signing players for big money, we also need to recoup some sort of outlay, and we can't just continue spending 400, 500 million without any sort of sales, not just because of the money, but because there's not space in the squad for all these players. So I want Bergvall to stay. I don't want to sell him, but it's just the reality of the situation. It's not nice. It's a horrible situation when you're letting go of such a talent. But when you're looking at the predicament Tottenham are in, it's probably the right choice, or an understandable choice, I should say.
Yeah.
Bob P4 says, why on earth sell Spence? Madness. In his prime, fantastic fullback, England World Cup player, versatile, homegrown. Name me a homegrown player that is better. we would be wanting to buy him for 50 million if we didn't have him?
Well, apparently De Zerbi doesn't rate him. I do rate Spence. I think in an ideal world, I wouldn't want to sell him. I'd love to have him and Porro competing for that right back spot next season. But is that a role that Spence wants in the team? Because it is a backup to Porro. It's not even like Porro's miles better than Spence, in my opinion. So again, it's about what Spence wants to do, what role he wants to take up. I think he can go to a Premier League team and start week in, week out. So I think that's probably what Spence would prefer. But in my opinion, I would love to have them both at the club.
Yeah, I think we're Tottenham fans, and from what we can see from Spence, I think he adds a lot of value. But if there's something with him and Zerbi, maybe he doesn't appreciate his mentality, or maybe it's just a clash of personality potentially between the two. Who knows? If there is a problem, we're hearing there might be, and I think he's not the bet. He's not like an untouchable. And if De Zerbi thinks just get money for him and replace him, then I'm fine with that. I don't think it's the end of the world. I also do like Spence. I also do think it's not going to be the easiest thing to replace him. And he's versatile and he offers a lot of things, and he's a brilliant one-on-one defender, and that's a quality in the squad I think could be useful. I don't think we should just give up easily. So I personally would like to keep him, but if Zerbi's like, you know what, get some money, I prefer, a different player in that position. I'm not seeing it complaining too much. I just personally would keep him. I don't think it's madness, put it that way, if that's what De Zerbi is thinking. Kieran Proper says, I really think we should cut bait with Bentancur. I really think we cut. I think means sell Bentancur. He has been great, but it opens Gray and Bergvall to play a lot of minutes. People forget that one injury or just rotating players is very important for cups or games with weaker teams, and having great players coming on with 20 minutes left in a game to change it, and Bergvall is great for that. I think it's a difficult one. I think individually, I think Bergvall obviously has a bigger future than Bentancur. I think we can all agree on that. And if you're asking me in isolation who I'd rather keep in my club for the long term, I think it's Bergvall. But here's the predicament that De Zerbi has, is he's got Fernandes and Tonali, right? If he sells Bentancur, that means an injury, a long-term injury to one of our senior players, and we don't have another senior player coming in. So we're quite sure. I think he'd preferably have three senior midfielders, then you've got a youngster or one of the younger players like Bergvall Gray coming in to get some game time and develop. But I think, are you just leaving it a bit too short if you only have two senior established Premier League midfielders in your squad? If they both get injured, all of a sudden you don't have any, and you're in a bit of trouble. So it's a difficult one. I understand what you're saying. I think Bergvall could definitely be a better player than Bentancur in the future, but I think De Zerbi is thinking about right next season, doesn't want to leave himself too short for senior midfielders.
Yeah, it's true, but you're looking at Bentancur, and I think he probably wants more of a starting role at a team. Is he going to get... I think Bentancur is coming to the end at Tottenham, whether it be this summer or next summer. I don't think he'll last past next summer, particularly with these two central midfielders that we've brought in. However, having said that, we are a better squad with Bentancur in it. There is no doubt about that. I think Bentancur is well ahead of Lucas Bergvall at this moment in time. I think he had a major impact in Spurs staying up last season when he came in. So for next season, Bentancur is the better bet. But for the future and past next season, I think Bergvall is probably the better bet. So it's like, what do you want out of the squad? It's a hard one. It really is a hard one.
Yeah, I think from one sense, it's difficult to justify if you're saying Bentancur could be gone within a year. It's hard to justify selling a talent like Bergvall for 1 year of Bentancur, if that's what we're saying. So from that side, it's difficult to justify. But when you're looking at De Zerbi's point of view, if he wants to give himself the best shot of, either keeping his job and improving Tottenham, then Bentancur would be the player right now you would pick. But I think I would love both Gray and Bergvall to stay, and maybe even, get so good that they're taking minutes off Bentancur because they're just proving themselves. But whether they get the minutes to do that, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. When does Bentancur's contract even run out?
He signed a new one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Not so long ago.
Didn't he sign a new one and there was no date on it or something?
Yeah. I don't exactly know when it is, but I think it was beginning of last season, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it says contract expires 2029.
So what are we now? So 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got quite a bit.
So when he goes into 2 years left, I think they'll look to sell him. I don't think he'll get another contract.
Depends how good he is.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets another 1 at 2 though. I think if we give another one, if we let him go into his last year, that's what I reckon.
Potentially, but you know, you're looking at him. He'll be 30 by the end of next season. Spurs obviously don't see him as a starter right now, so it's like, where's his head going to be at come next summer as well?
Of course, all depends. Obviously, the big question mark is: are we ever going to see the Bentancur injury? If we start seeing more of that consistently, maybe we'll want to keep him. But if not, yeah, it is what it is. Reshek says, as a Milan fan, I'm telling you, signing Rafael Leao would be a bigger disaster than Ndombele. There is a reason why Premier League clubs are not exactly lining up for him. It's his work rate. The stats prove he runs less than Ronaldo. In modern football, a winger who does not track back is a liability. That puts massive physical strain on the rest of the team. The left back and the midfielders have to do his running to cover the space he leaves, which inevitably leads to fatigue and injuries. The team balance just collapses. Forget about defensive tracking. He does not even press in the final third, probably because he's protecting those hips. He just waits for the ball and only turns it on when we are attacking. It seems like people in England do not care about these details and just get excited whenever they hear a big name. I get it. Why would they watch Serie A? But it's generally bizarre to see people hype him up without having watched a single full game of his lately.
Also, lately he's been playing with injury and out of position, so I don't see him mentioning that. That massively goes into the context of Rafael Leao, and last season was obviously his poorest season in the Milan shirt. So it's all on De Zerbi. If De Zerbi thinks he can get him running and get him on side, you know, a Rafael Leao that is on side could be one of the best wingers in the Premier League with the talent that he has. That is for sure. But nobody is saying that it's not a risk. It's a massive risk bringing in Rafael Leao because of the narrative surrounding him over the past couple of years. So nobody's doubting that. But I think maybe De Zerbi thinks he can get him back to his best. And if you get him back to his best, he is a phenomenal player.
You got to remember, he's also been at a team where he's been there a while, 7, 8 years. For many of those years, he's been by far and away the best player in the team, one of the best players in the league. And when you've sometimes been at a club for that long, it can, you can get frustrated with the project, especially Milan. They've been very up and down. There's been no clear direction. And sometimes you can look at, for example, look at Harry Kane. I know it was only for a short amount of time, but at the beginning of Nuno, for like 3 months, he was terrible. He was so bad. And I remember there was calls to drop him. We had John Cooper on the show saying he's not world class anymore, all these different things. But, all he needed was to be reinvigorated. All he needed was like a manager to believe it, he could believe in again, and he could believe in the direction of the club again.
Goes one of two ways though, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
It depends what your mentality is. Obviously, Kane's got a top mentality.
Yeah.
So he was able to be reinvigorated. But then
of course,
you got other players that.
I'm just saying this. If a player, that's my point though. Even if a player like Kane can lose his way, right, with that, and we know he has top mentality. So a player with such great mentality, if even he can lose his way, right? Imagine a player like like Leao. Especially when Kane got that resolved over 3 months. Maybe it hasn't been resolved for Milan for a while. Maybe he's getting even more disgruntled and frustrated over a longer period than just 3 months that Kane did. So there's a lot that can go into it on players' mentality. I guess it all comes down to what his intentions of coming to the Premier League are. Is he coming because he feels like he needs to level up? He needs to prove himself against the best. He needs to push himself.
Studios in London, apparently.
Or is it because he likes the glitz and the glamour? He just wants more money. He just wants the more attention and all that kind of stuff. It's not about him trying to prove himself. Now, Iggy said something interesting, which got me thinking. He said he needs a coach like De Zerbi. He needs someone who's going to push him. De Zerbi isn't going to take any shit from him. He's not going to accept not tracking back. He's not going to accept him not pressing. He's not going to He's not going to bring in Leao. Obviously, you never really know until he's through the door whether he's going to do these things. He can say he will, but whether he does it on the pitch, it's another thing. But my point is, he's not going to tolerate it at Tottenham. He'll be out the team. If he's not doing it, he won't play. And yes, could that cause an issue? But my point is that, you know, it is a risk, but we're not like, if we're not going to have a Leao on the pitch if he's not tracking back and not playing. He's not going to be doing that, because if he does that, he won't play, is my point. Like, we'll have Savinho, we'll have someone else in the team, because De Zerbi won't tolerate it. So having a manager like De Zerbi at the helm kind of mitigates that risk a bit, if you know what I mean.
That's why a loan move. That's why it needs to be a loan move. Because if we're stuck with him, we're going to be hard to find it to shift him. We're going to lose money very quickly.
We'll shift him to Saudi or something. That's
yeah,
what
it's true, but it's easier said than done. I think it has to be a loan move then, if that's the case. If he's going to get the hump with De Zerbi, no, I'm not saying he is, but you know, from what you're saying, you know, it's a potential. You know, if he gives De Zerbi all the words saying he's going to do this, he's going to press, he's going to track back, he's going to, you know, work so hard for the team, and then he ends up it doesn't after a couple of months, and he's out the team, then we're just stuck with the player, aren't we? And
yeah,
so it needs to be a loan then, doesn't it?
I mean, preferably, yeah. But is it worth the risk of signing him permanently? That's obviously the question we ask ourselves. My only point being is, you know, we talk about what's happening over Milan over the last couple of years with him. Is there a possibility that, you know, his mentality is just because of how Milan is going? As I've said, as we saw with Kane, could that be happening with Leao on just a little bit of a bigger scale, or a little bit of a longer term? And if he does come to Tottenham, we'll see a reinvigorating Leao. We'll see someone who's got that fire back in him, because that just seems to have gone out of him at the moment. And maybe he just needs a change. Maybe he just needs a new environment. Maybe he just needs a manager who is not going to let him slack off, who's not going to just say, you know what, you just do what you want, don't worry about tracking back, and we'll let the team deal with that, you do your bit. He's gonna get into him, he's gonna push him, he's gonna demand from him that he be as good as he can be. And I think that's what De Zerbi's the kind of character that would do.
Yeah, you know what, that might have actually been the downfall for him. I know he had his best season that year. I know Iggy was talking about him under Pioli for Milan in the title-winning season, where he was like, you know what, don't worry about tracking back, don't worry about this. You just do what you do at the top end of the pitch. That might have been actually the start of the downfall, because like he thought maybe he got a bit too big for his boots there.
Potentially.
And then he kind of just stopped doing it under every manager.
Yeah, my only point being is we're judging him on a period where it's you know, we might not have been seeing the real Leao over these last year or two. It's hard to say, but maybe that is what it is. That's my point. But, you know, we can't say definitively. Maybe just, you know, we've seen it before.
I would take the punt.
Colin Wong says, give Levy credit. He made the club a commercial giant that will keep the club competitive no matter what happens on the field. He made the club sustainable. You can't flex over the clubs, over other clubs without giving him some credit. Coy's Daniel.
I mean, I have been over the past week, or since we've been splashing the money. I've said a lot. I've given Daniel Levy a lot of praise. I've probably given him more praise over the last couple of weeks than I've given him in 25 years. So I do give him credit for where he's left as a football club, because I don't think we'd be able to spend this money without the work that he did. I think that's fact.
Yeah, exactly. The only point I think we make is that is just Levy would have never have done it. He was always great at building great diversified incomes and revenue streams and brilliant, but he just never had the balls to use those advantages. He would never slap all that big money. We heard from Ange, we're never going to be that club that spends 100 million. That's because he probably came from Levy. They would say we would never go that far. We always would keep it within a very strict budget.
Every manager has said it pretty much in different words. Pochettino, nice stadium, a nice house, no furniture. Conte, this club. Jose Mourinho has said many things on the ownership at Tottenham. Ange said what he said. You know what I mean? It's like a non-stop kind of conveyor belt of disses to Daniel Levy in the hierarchy of this football club. But Daniel Levy took us to a stage where we can do what we can do now, but he was also holding us back at the same time. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And I think Levy's just never really got his head around that football, as much as the business side is important, you can't run the footballing club like a business, like necessarily. It's a very specific kind of business. Like if sometimes if you don't push the boat out, it will cost you more in the long run because you don't get the player that you want that would rightly fit for the team that you need. You end up going for a cheaper option who's less quality. You end up, he ends up not being good enough, so you have to buy another player in that position, whereas you would have saved money probably if you just outright got for that player in the first place. And Levy never quite grasped that, and he just never did.
We've stagnated and brought in average players for so long, ever since basically the back end of the Pochettino reign. And yes, there have been some good players in there as well. But if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And we've moved backwards so much. We've gone from a Champions League final to a relegation fight.
Yeah.
And that's all on Daniel Levy.
Yeah, exactly. John McCrea says, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah, it's been a great window so far. But we need to stay humble, and hopefully we have an amazing season coming up. Then we can blow our own trumpet if we are successful. Until then, let's keep it low key. We have had too many false dawns to get ahead of ourselves.
It's very, very true, but it's not going to stop us getting excited with spending all this money. But I do agree with that 100%. But it's hard to keep calm and level-headed when you're signing these players and top quality players. The wage structure's been smashed. The transfer budget's been smashed. More to come, and it's just like we've never seen this at Tottenham before. So it's just like, how are you supposed to keep calm? But I agree, that's probably what we should be doing. But it's not reality.
Yeah, it's tempting to go early, isn't it? We're going to be in a title challenge. We're going to be this. We're going to do that. Everyone, the whole Premier League, watch out, all these kind of things. And when you're signing the players of the caliber we're signing, who's spending the money that we are, it's so tempting, and you get drawn up in all of it, don't you? But the reality is we haven't seen us play a game of football yet. Mm-hmm. So until that happens, until we see us on the pitch actually, being as good as we hope we can be with all these players. It's easy to say we're guaranteed to be at a certain level. We're guaranteed to challenge for Champions League now. We're guaranteed this and that. But you got to remember the Premier League is still so tough and competitive. Until we're actually performing it on the pitch, we should never really get too ahead of ourselves about what we can achieve and what we can do. And that is the truth. And you're absolutely right about it. But when you'll see we're signing Tonali, Fernandes, Van Hecke, some of the top performing players in the Premier League, it's hard. Senesi, it's hard not to get swept up in all of that and think and dream about what can be achieved and what we can do. But I think, you're spot on. Like when it comes to these other clubs like, Newcastle, Villa, and all these clubs that we're like flexing on at the moment, there's no reason still why they can't compete with us on the pitch as much as we're blowing them way off it.
Yeah, exactly.
RMB Yido says that's because, so he's talking about why Villa fans so pissed off. He says that's because Villa took our spot for the last few seasons and now they know it's in danger regardless of finishing 17th for 2 seasons in a row. Tottenham are a bigger club and will always be bigger than Villa.
Yeah, I don't think they've always has been bigger than Villa, because obviously Villa have got European Cups to their name, not just UEFA Cup. They've got, literally the top dog. So they have been a bigger club than us in the past. But if you're looking at the Premier League era, Spurs have been a bigger club, particularly over the last 20 years. In the last 20 years, we finished in European competition 18 times. They've done it about 6 times.
It was interesting. Did you see the video on TalkSport? Darren Bent and Carl Walker were asked about who's a bigger club, Villa or Spurs. They both said Villa.
Yeah.
So, I wonder what they're basing that on. Is it?
They're basing it solely on the European Cup.
They said it's because they won the European Cup. That makes no sense. That would mean Huddersfield are bigger than us then, or something. Didn't they win the European Cup? Mm-hmm. So. That just because you won a European Cup in the 60s, I'm not saying it means nothing, but it doesn't.
I think it was a lot later than the 60s, wasn't it?
Or whatever it was, 80s.
Yeah.
Just because you won a European Cup then, that doesn't correlate to size of a club in 2026.
You say that, but before this UEFA Cup win, we were flexing the 80s and the European Cup, saying Arsenal got no European pedigree.
That's different. That's still true because we've won more European Cups. And as I said, it doesn't mean nothing, but it doesn't mean about the size of a club. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to the size of a football club, in 2026. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to that. When we're flexing on Arsenal, it's because they haven't won any major European trophies that exist, and we can flex that. because they're still yet to. They don't have any European pedigree compared to us in that sense. Even though they got to a Champions League final, we've been to a Champions League final as well recently. So it's different. So that's a different.
Then they'll
I'm not saying we're a bigger club than Arsenal because of it. I never said that.
What did you say?
We got more European pedigree.
Yeah, but
That's different.
But again,
that's a different argument.
They can throw the same thing back. Where you won it in the 80s, it makes no difference.
We haven't. We won it in 2025.
Yeah, I'm talking about before that.
No, but that's a different. You're talking about two different things.
No, I'm not.
You are.
Why?
We're talking about the size of a club. We're talking about European pedigree.
Yeah, but I'm saying the same kind of reasoning and rebuttals could still be made.
No.
Why not?
Because the size of a club's got nothing to do with pedigree. We're talking about what I guess it depends what your definition of the size of a club is.
Yeah.
For me, it's right now, how big you are financially, your global fan base. Obviously, the trophy cabinet comes into it as well, but how often you're finishing in the high echelons of the league. How often you're in European football in the current, like the size of football clubs change. You're not just a size and then that's it. Villa were probably bigger than us when they won the European Cup, but right now they're not, and that's because of all the different things that we've put in place, and a lot of it comes down to revenue and global fan base, and I think dwarf them when it comes to those two things.
100%.
So I think that when it comes to the size of the club, when it comes to the question with European pedigree and us winning trophies, that's a different question. That's purely down to football. That's got nothing to do with all those other things.
I think it all comes into it. I think the size of the club, the size of the fan base, the revenues, but also sporting merit has to come into it.
Yeah, of course it does.
When you're talking about, the size of a football club.
Yeah, but us and Villa are very even keel when it comes to the amount of trophies we've won, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
in total.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of numbers of trophies, I think the Villa have more than us.
I think they have, but it's close. It's not far off.
But obviously the level of trophies as well that they've got over us, having a European Cup.
Yeah, they got a European Cup, but fine. But my point being is that when we're talking about the size of a club in 2026 in general, that's that winning a European Cup, as I say, Huddersfield doesn't come into it, does it? Why don't they? If they're sporting merit, it counts for as a massive thing.
League Two.
Exactly. So where the club is at in 2026 obviously holds more water, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but where we are in 2026 is that we finished 17th twice, and Villa have been in European competition.
No, I understand that, but the size of the club but you can't discount the revenues we bring in and the global fan base. Mm-hmm. Huddersfield don't have that, so regardless of them in League Two, they don't have that. If we were in League Two, we would still have those things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, don't know, would we?
Okay, we wouldn't have the revenues, but we would still have the global fan base.
Yeah, I think it would decrease for sure. But look, I think Villa are a very big football club. Don't get it twisted. But I think right now we are ahead of them, even with finishing 17th twice in a row. Mm-hmm. I do think we have a bigger fan base. They're the biggest club in the Midlands by far. They're a massive club, and they do have better sporting merit than us in terms of the history. The things that we've got over them is probably a bigger fan base and bigger revenues. The money side of it. Mm-hmm.
You say that, but we have finished in Europe 18 out of the last 20 seasons or whatever it is, and they've only done it in the last few years.
And they've been relegated.
So that also comes into it as well.
Yeah.
If who's more likely to sign who's best player? Are we more likely to sign their best player or them ours? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it came to it. We loaned them players for development, like Carl Walker. In the last 10 years or whatever it was.
So I think that tells you all you need to know.
And did Danny Rose go there as well?
No, I don't think Rose went to Villa. Ross Thompson says everyone did I read that one already? No, yeah. Everyone bantering us we don't spend the money or pay wages. Then they're all crying when we start spending hundreds of millions willy-nilly. We live in everyone's head rent-free.
Sorry, say that again?
Everyone's bantering us when we don't spend the money or pay the wages. Then they all start crying when we start spending hundreds of millions willy-nilly. So we live in everyone's head rent-free.
It's exactly that. It's just like...
It's because we're massive.
Pick a lane, guys. Like, they're just gonna pick on us for whatever it is. So
Yeah.
I don't really take too much notice of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I just find it interesting though. Like everyone, the whole Premier League and whatever, they always make fun of Tottenham. Oh, you know, you never spend. You're not going to push the bar. You're never going to pay the wages. You're never going to attract these kind of players because of that. And then we start putting the money down on the table. They're like, oh, you're overpaying. Oh, it's ridiculous. You finished 17th. Oh, this and that. You know, you're never going to win with rival fans. That's just reality. You're never going to win.
They'll pick anything. But like when other clubs overpay, like I heard nothing about overpaying when Man City bought Elliot Anderson from any other rival fan. No one says anything about them.
Yeah.
But when we overpay, because we finished 17th twice in a row,
all of a sudden it's some ridiculous
all
thing.
of a sudden, it's like some big breaking news. But it's not. It's just like this is what big clubs do. Sometimes you have to overplay.
It makes actually more sense that we have to overpay than City. Because City have all the advantages.
We've had to overpay to get these players over the line. There was no other way that we were going to get them.
Ebony Shogun says, let's not become arrogant like United fans, lads. Stay humble, keep pushing.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned the United fans. I was just thinking about that. It's like, I'm not bothered about the comments from Villa or Newcastle. To be fair, I'm not bothered about the comments from Manchester United fans either, but I find the comments from Manchester United fans a lot funnier than I do from Newcastle and Villa, because I actually kind of get the frustration from Newcastle and Villa fans. I do get it. But the Man United fans, like, it's just hilarious, man, because they've been overpaying for players for the last, 2 decades or however long it's been. And suddenly Spurs are beating them to the punch. They've gone in a different way. And, how can these players join Tottenham over Manchester United? It's just brilliant.
Yeah, they're just trying to constantly little bro us. Little old Tottenham, how dare you outbid us on a bid? It's like, surely you're not allowed to outbid the great Manchester United on a bid. Surely if you've outbid them, there must be an overpayment, because no way would any Man United stop short of a fair market value. No way. You are Tottenham Hotspur. Stay in your lane, and the frustration coming out of them is absolutely fantastic to see. And I understand the frustration, as you say, from Villa and Newcastle, is like, you finished below us, and like, why are you able to spend all this money? But for Man United, it's like, you're little Tottenham. Like, stay down there. You're not allowed to come up here and bid with rival us for bids. How dare you? It's like that we even dared to rival them for a transfer offends them. It's crazy. It's so funny.
Literally, they were saying to West Ham, you should accept our bid for 40 million instead of going to Tottenham for 85 million.
Ridiculous. But it's interesting to say, when you cast your mind back, like back in, what was it, 8 or 9 years ago, United spent massive money on Pogba for big money. They got Zlatan in that window. I think they got Mkhitaryan. Like, they did sign a lot of good players that year, and it didn't exactly work out. So I think that's also a lesson, like, just because you're spending big money on big players, doesn't always guarantee success.
Yeah. That was under Louis van Gaal, or was it Mourinho?
Mourinho.
Yeah.
Under a top manager.
I think the difference was they signed some really good players, but it was all kind of felt like a scattergun approach more than anything else. They were just signing players because of the name. They weren't signing players that actually fit what they want to do. So I think that's the difference between what Spurs are doing right now and what Manchester United did then. Like, Spurs are hitting players with precision of the profiles that we need and the positions that we need. And I think it's the most targeted transfer window I've seen from Tottenham. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. So that's what Klopp said as well when he said he was offered the United job, and he was like seeing what the deals they were lining up, and he was like, well, you're just going them because they're big players, not because they're good for Man United. And you're absolutely spot on about that.
Yeah, well, look,
that's it.
That is it from us today, guys. We shall see you all very, very soon. Hopefully we get a weekend bomber. Hopefully. Who knows? But we're starting to do a lot more content on our other channel, On The Ball, regarding all stuff around the Premier League. So go and subscribe to On The Ball if you want to see some content outside of Tottenham. But big up to all of you. The link, by the way, is in the description, I believe. But let us know your thoughts. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.